the street lights lit this town like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna let it rain. Tonight we gonna let it rain. Tonight we gonna let it rain. Just like the sunrise, we gonna let it rain. Just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop, can't turn back now. We know that there's no room for doubt. No, we can't turn back now. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna let it rain. Tonight we gonna let it rain. Tonight we gonna let it rain. Just like the sunrise, we gonna let it rain. broken alone. I feel the rain crashing down. All around this empty town, I'm searching for the lost and found. But you don't care, you're unaware. Keep moving like the scars aren't even there. It's in the air, like a blazing flare. Just stare, cause the flames will burn us. I thought you were the one for me. That's why I gave you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas. Oh, you meant the world to me. I used to kiss your head when you cried for me. Hold your hand while the pain was over. Keep you warm by the roaring sea. You meant the world to me. Oh, you meant the world to me. Oh, you meant the world to me. My darling dear, you're never here. When I'm in pain, you hide and disappear. Like shadows in the atmosphere, charting the stratosphere. Yeah. I prayed for you and kept you near, in hopes you'd chase away my fears. I'm on my own, you made it so, and now I'm chasing nightmares through. I used to run with you through the great big leaves, laugh at you when you laugh at me. Hope for us because I believe the home was just you and me. I thought you were the one for me. That's why I gave you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas. Oh, you meant the world to me. Oh, you meant the world to me. Oh, you meant the world to me. Oh, I'm gonna do this on my own. No point in blaming you, you did not know. Oh, I thought you were the one for me. That's why I gave you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas. Oh, you meant the world to me. Oh, you meant the world to me. Oh, you meant the world to me. Oh, I'm gonna do this on my own. No point in blaming you, you did not know. Oh, oh, I'm gonna do this on my own. No point in blaming you, you did not know. I thought you were the one for me. That's why I gave you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas. Oh, you meant the world to me.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Kings Cup here, bringing you the inaugural best of three finals for this banging tournament powered by King George and FirstBlood. My name is Sticula. Joining me here will be Chief as we get underway with 3 solid hours of siege action.
Reese, I'm so excited to be back in the booth with you once again. As you mentioned, this is the grand final for $1,000. And boy, do we have some strong competition today. Chess Club, the up and coming superstar roster of amateur North American Rainbow Six Siege versus Killers with the prodigy himself, Spoit, on the roster. Is Reedsing capable of breaking down one of the best mechanical players currently in Siege? Honestly, Reese, I'm just excited to see this series go all three maps.
Oh, for sure. Definitely. That's our expectation as we set the scales here. And we have one team, kind of the practice roster that has been working to better themselves for a decent amount of time, as you mentioned, kind of that new kid on the block, but definitely getting off to a running start in the amateur scene. And then on the other side, it's a band of merry friends that have gotten together and are ready to participate in what's sure to be some fantastically high octane siege. There is a spice of Latin American play coming in from Mexico here. So I'm sure that's going to be a interesting aspect there to XX Killer XX, which is definitely a very intriguing name for the roster to be taking on. And as you mentioned, Spoit as well. He's a real superstar on that aiming category. So, hey, he could be really shaking things up here in this match.
As you mentioned, Chess Club is, North American amateur team. They're scrimming, they're practicing, they're playing against a lot of talent throughout all of North American Rainbow Six Siege. But are they in an echo chamber? Have they been scrimming teams that are all North American? Because as you mentioned, there's some Latin flair that's coming forward, as well as some European flair today. And, if Chess Club has only been scrimming North American teams, they might be stuck in a particular style of play. I mean, we watched all of the Mexico major that ended up today, where a Latin team
Right.
number one ended up winning that. So maybe North American Siege, at least in this major, they were a little bit behind, and maybe that's going to be the motif here for Chess Club.
All right, well, we'll be sure to check on that one, that storyline as we progress. We do have the map veto, though. It's nothing crazy going on. We have a coastline ban up first by Chess Club, which that doesn't really make me scream anything too crazy. You play Latin America, yeah, you're going to be banning coastline. But then we have a follow-up as a consulate ban from XX Killer XX, which definitely draws me a bit of surprise as well, because you would have figured a team like this, which definitely screams ranked, probably would leave the consulate up maybe as a potential for that decider, but nope, that's not the case. And then moving next, we'll have Chess Club pick into Oregon, which I've been told is a pretty staple map in their pool so far. And then it's Oregon as that next one, or rather Clubhouse, kind of that sort of tandem map that we see definitely strikes into the more sort of regulated style of Siege. And then following that as well, I wanted to ask you, that Chalet ban, is that a big surprise or is that more par for the course?
I'm not surprised by Chalet. Still the newest addition to the competitive scene. Teams are starting to figure it out. Again, going back over to the recent major, we saw how strong that map is across all regions. And that just means it's going to take some time to percolate down into the amateur sphere where we are today. But it is a solid map. And again, when you enter in a weekend tournament, you're probably going to be relying on your more basic maps, which is why we see Borgen as number one and Clubhouse falling number two.
Yep, nothing surprising there. Then it's Cafe Dostoevsky as that last decision to be made as it gets banned out, and then that leaves us setting up for a Villa Decider, but the game is ready, so we're not going to delay too far. We've got a real rapid set of maps coming up for you. That'll be Oregon number one as we get ready to launch into this best of three. As you mentioned, $1,000 on the line, and these teams are really going to be fighting for it.
Now, when we come into individual once a week or probably once a month tournaments, we see teams, they want to come in aggressive, they want to hit hard, and that's going to be shown in the ban phase. We've seen a lot of Iona, Ashes, and Zoe bans just kicking things off. If you're able to remove that lethality, if you're able to remove some of the teeth of the biggest shark in the pond, well, then maybe the strategies might change. Because again, Killer, they are technically a rank stack. Sure, they have a prodigy on their roster. Sure, they have some phenomenal top tier gunners, but they don't really have the, scrim pedigree that Chess Club has been working so hard to achieve over the past few months. And again, to put that in perspective, Chess Club in one of the amateur monthly long tournaments here, they're the only undefeated roster. They have gone against some strong teams, Team Mystic being one of them, and actually Chess Club was able to topple Mystic right before the semifinals. So Chess Club is coming off a heater, and the same thing can be said for Killer as they knock down the tournament organizer, King George.
Yeah, that was definitely a bit of a surprising result, and I was just going to mention that as well. You can see there in the top left, this is the Kings Cup, powered by FirstBlood, but also built-in participation with Mr. King George himself. This is sort of his little baby that he's been working on, and it gives us another vector of Siege competition to look forward to. And you can count on these events for the next 2 months. Every third Saturday of the month, you'll be having an opportunity to compete here as well, and that's free entry, so no money that you have to put up on the line, and if you can carry it all the way into the finals, potentially earning your spot in next month's stream, you might have a possible run at that $1,000 total prize pool. Map veto, rather op veto, complete now, as you've got Thatcher Ying taken off, and it's Valkyrie and Mira there as the follow-up, stepping into the first round of play.
We already mentioned removing aggressive operators. Iana, Ashe, and Zoe will make their way on forward, but Ying is a secondary operator to that mix. Having flashbangs, her 3 Candelas, I mean, she's incredibly oppressive onto a bomb site. If you're able to util burn, removing those ADSs with my pancakes, and then you go for your flash dump, oh boy, you'd be better off running away, because those flashbangs are incredibly terrifying, but no longer an option. And the same story for Valkyries. Very strong here on Oregon. If you place it outside by the bus, a Valkyrie will be somewhere outside 3 meters away from the room and will be absolutely slamming it. Nice to see that out, but again, we're going to have to see what strategies come forward. Again, when you have a background that is more rank focused and a background that is more competitive focused, playing an amateur Siege, things become different. You have 2 very different philosophies and you have very different approaches. But with that being said, traditional bomb sites being shown here by Killer, starting upstairs in dorms. Everything more or less the same. Exactly what you expect. Wall denial being brought out by Mute. No need to really bring out Arcade because you do have Maverick available. So Maverick of Bills will be able just to bypass that utility, slicing his dicing his way through the hard wall.
Well, speaking about that ranked aspect, though the chess club there, obviously a metaphor for the highly experienced Siege minds here on the blue team, they could definitely back up in that ranked aim gunny department as well. Don't get us wrong on that point. Doc, really a player that's kind of a monster when you find him on the other side of the server. We talk about Reed Sync as one of the most sort of dynamic and variable, flexible players inside of the T3 scene here in North America at the moment. So I think the chess club definitely have the chops to step up against that very explosive, all of a sudden aggression that we might be seeing here from XX Killer XX as they step onto the first defense here. Sort of a multifaceted approach. We did see a little bit of a confrontation there. Snake taking some fire over by the meeting split area, not able to dish out any of that damage in return, but definitely be a little bit more cautious now that they understand Killer are trying to hold across the map and they aren't going to give up any control for free. Barely even hear the gunshot ring out. Looks like a single bullet will connect against Doc's head and open up his headpiece, as that's the opening kill now for the defense.
A sprawled out hold for Killer. They have practically the entire map underneath their thumb, and this is a dangerous place for a chess club to be in, because if they go for a nade to remove the util off the wall, if they go for a Maverick trick, they're going to have to be very mindful. They have to set up flank drones, whatever side they go for, whether or not it's South Games or North Attic. Mentioning that, frag grenade, it rains out true. Hyper-aggressive play from Jello. He's going to get sniped off a little bit too early. That's a crucial kill to lose, Reese. Those are the my pancakes off the board, as well as potential impact tricks. So now Killer, they're going to have to start to course correct. You can still rely on Spoit and his ADSs, but if Chess Club begins their burn, there might not be enough utility to stop that, and Mr. B is going to start the initiation.
You can definitely see Killer are still trying to provide a little bit of harassment. Skimzy tries to move in, gets his head chopped off there, as Bills will contribute as well, rocking that 50 caliber DMR, and a nice little spot out there by Spoit as he isolates Reed Sync and dodges to play multiple different angles. He manages to trade there with Snake. Surprising turn of events as the hop in from the window, eliminated by Rovi, moves us into 1 versus 1 territory. Mr. B with 50 seconds. He's out of flashbangs, but he does still have the diffuser, which could be his amount of leverage to try to force Rovi out of cover, but with 2 toxic babes, that SAS operator might just be able to take the life of Mr. B without even landing a single body on target, but Mr. B comes through there from the single door into dorms, and the smoke gets a little bit too antsy.
Reese, you mentioned some of the standout players on Chess Club, but one that we did not praise enough was their star-studded support. Mr. B has one of the highest clutch potentials that we see in amateur North America, and being proven here in round number 1. I mean, Chess Club, their ability to come back from the deficit that they started off with was incredible. They never really lost sight of their goal. They wanted to push South Games. They still had enough utility to do so. A refrag comes forward by Maverick underneath with that nade, and after that, Chess Club, they set themselves out the crossfires, still coming in from South Games as well as from Trophy, and forcing Killer into this very awkward predicament. They started off this round with this full roam where everybody was practically offside. They're trying to snipe drones, and they're trying to absorb as much time out of that clock, but then they recalled their troops very early, and it started to put all the members of Killer kind of in this box. They were stuck, the lid was closed, and Chess Club was able to set up their crossfire. A great round for Chess Club, and that comes down to the dynamics of being a team that is playing often, scrimming together, practicing together. They're able to have that synergization even when they lose one of their star players of Doc.
Good point there, Brian. And it did seem to me like Killer were a little bit kind of unsettled towards the mid-round. You saw a lot of rotation around this sort of Zig Hall area. Like they were kind of figuring out maybe they were going to try to play for Nitros down there. I suppose there could have been a moment of thought where they thought about flanking up from the main stairs, especially after Doc managed to even the scores with that killer nade that he landed. But the idea never came through from Killer, and slowly by bit, they managed to get whittled down by Chess Club, who just won out in that battle of attrition. And you got to give some credit to Mr. B as well to close out that round, to be the literal last man standing and winning that fight against the smoke, deep in cover, being the aggressor. Mr. B had a bit of a disadvantage there, but he still made it work, and he survives the first round as one of the key players earning a multi-kill there. Stepping into the basement site, though, now Killer are trying to provide a bit of an issue across the map, but maybe Mr. B has spotted a weakness in this setup as he isolates Jello, and Snake as well will do the favor over to Sploit, who had tried to linger there at the back stairs.
Mr. B is a support that can always frag, and then he goes back to doing what a support does, continuously droning out his fellow entries. Snake over by Barrels. He has the ability to push on forward. It's actually still Snake up on the north side. It's another entry. It's Doc over by Barrels. A tandem push as Chess Club continues to tighten that vice. Chess has lost or gained plenty of ground so far in this round. The 2 opening kills in favor of them, and Killer, once again, in a very similar situation to round 1. The 3 remaining troops are isolated in a kill box, and they're going to have to start to make a play. Using the Maverick Torch against the offense is a great way of doing so, but it's hyper risky, and that's exactly what you need when you're 2 men down.
Great isolation work there by Skimzy as he just sort of wanders around the lobby area and finds Reedsink obviously occupied with something a little bit more pressing, perhaps pushing down into Laundry. And it does seem like Chess Club have arrived at a bit of a crossroads, still deciding what the next vector of the push is going to be. It looks like Bills is thinking about a possible nade to drop that down into sort of the highway pillar area, because Hawks is being a real problem player. Nearly hits the pre-fire there, and now the Cade challenges forward, but Bills takes him out, saving his teammate, who in addition also charged up there. Now Rovi caught with minimal ammunition left in the SMG, and presented with the Iana is hot money there on the target, as Skimzy will find one to bring us back to a 2v2.
Chess Club called for take control, and they definitely did so by Pillar, but they never applied the brakes. That 2v4 is now turned into a 2v2. Very winnable for both these rosters, but Chess Club, they have to play together as a team. Slightly isolated over on Pillar. There's many of avenues that they can push forward from. They can challenge in through J Bunker. They can push in through the long hallway, but Rovi, he's acting as a menace. He has lockdown on every single one of these sites and every single one of these insertion points. Mr. B was able to save round number 1, but he's going to have to replicate that success here in round 2. An incredible flick for him. Now this winnable mark is so doable. 10 seconds left. It's a 7-second defuse. No impact grenades for Sherms to have, and he's just going to push on forward. The swing and a miss for Mr. B. Killers will find their mark here in round 2.
Ooh, that one came pretty tense there. Hibana hitting the swing, but overall it's a Theris with that team cohesion. We were painting this picture as Chess Club, the practiced roster coming into this, but you can't not forget that duo effort and that chemistry building up there between Rovi and Skimzy. They can definitely work together and make up a play, find picks out of nowhere at a moment's notice, and they do so to put them over the line in round number 2, and they fend off Chess Club, who moved in kind of a weird way. It felt like they were sort of searching for something. It was a little bit of a kind of an awkward moment there where there's that nade that's rolling through Pillar, and then all of a sudden the Maverick is dropping the hatch and he's got an opponent that suddenly presents him there. I think the Chess Club just kind of getting a little bit sort of caught up. Maybe they could have taken a step or two back and rethought how they wanted to make that play. A few instances where they were kind of giving up a couple 1v1s, and I think that might have been the big contributor there, because we always talk about when you're the defense, when you're in that disadvantage, you want to funnel the attackers one by one into your sight lines, and man, Killer sure did that expertly.
And I have to give, still praise to Chess Club. They ended up losing that round, but what they did well was when they realized that they had the option of grabbing that basement control, they did exactly that, but they have to be very mindful moving forward that once they have that control, it's time to stop the execute, redrone, because you still have 40 seconds left on that clock, gather some information, and then continue with that push. That way, you can take every single gunfight with your man advantage, but if you just continue to flood on forward, the defensive Killer, they don't need to really do much of anything. They sit down in their bunkered position, they hold their cross angles, and they end up executing every single member of Chess Club. So that's a very important lesson that Chess Club just learned, and something Killer has learned as well. They're able to exploit that very fast push. Unfortunately, though, for Killer, they're not able to exploit that first opening duel, as Sploit goes for an aggressive swing and ends up getting smoked.
One thing to keep an eye on as well has got to be that Mozzie from up in the tower, but a bit of caster curse there as he goes down at the hands of Doc. I suppose he just tried to peek out of that T3 window, and you can see the slight bit of damage to that barricade will definitely reinforce that point that he tried to work the peak, he tried to trade out his earlier teammate's death, but it's that sort of that want to find a pick, that need to get aggressive, perhaps a little bit more thought through, wouldn't have came to the same conclusion of Killer being down now by 2 bodies and searching for a refract, but it was a similar situation in the previous round, so there's still a little bit of breathing room as long as Killer can kind of bide their time, keep the man advantage as it is currently at the 2, or maybe work another pick as Hawks will do so, whipping out the shotgun as he just sort of poked his head out through the breach and now catches a bit of a folly there from Chess Club as they have to move in, regain this control, recover the diffuser, and refocus for the last 90 seconds of the round. But Hawks just pouring out that buckshot, really dealing a lethal blow and forcing Chess Club to reconsider options.
The blood is flowing for Chess Club. 2 incredibly powerful kills and powerful players that they ended up losing. Now, still utility on the side of Chess Club. They're able to whip their names, but the last one has just been expended over by metal side of dorms at the southwest side. And now you're no longer able to artillery barrage the players of Killers stuck in these positions. So Chess Club, they're going to have to really synchronize together as a team and start to push on forward. The majority of Killer still isolated towards the middle part of the bomb site. Now, you can set up crossfires using North Attic and the big window to make sure the defenders aren't able to rotate comfortably in the bomb site and pick them off one by one. Hawks is going to be the first player that needs to be executed. He's on so low HP, and a shotgun and CQC can be dangerous.
I think just having only the Hibana X Kairos used to open that wall has caused a bit of a choke point. Hawks will earn his 3rd kill as he just continues to monster his way through the Chess Club ranks, but now it's not that duo from Atheris this time, though. Still, Killer holding on and leaving this time Snake into the clutch with the mighty magazine there behind the LMG. He spots the Mozzie. It's a distraction, though. Allows Jello to swing out from behind the bunk's cover and bring that to 2 in a row there for Killer, as I think on the repeat there of this dorm site, Chess Club probably dropped the Hibana and bring in an ace.
They also dropped the ball in that round, Reese. I mean, Chess Club had the opening duel. They removed the flare of Killers. We saw Spoint and we saw Skimzy. They're the first deaths, and they're dead very early on. And then Chess Club, they really never applied the lessons that we talked about in round 2, where they just start to move too fast. They don't really mind their P's and Q's. They're not really droning. And Hawks is able to exploit that. Not once, not twice, but three different times. He just swings with his shotgun out. I mean, honestly, Chess Club, you need to have some type of surface area droning. You need to have some positional advantage over in Trophy, over by the breach that you just opened up in South Games. Be prepared for that level of aggression. Because again, Chess Club has played a lot of hyper-aggressive teams in the multi-matches that they've played here in North America. And they've played teams like In Control Nation, that will swing breaches exactly like Hawks did. You have to log that in your mind and then apply it to the match you're playing, because again, Killer, they're technically not a comp team. They're a bunch of high-level players who are more than capable of playing comp once they hit 18 that you're going against. You can't ever take them for granted, because they will slam you at every twist and turn being shown by Hawks.
Do not underestimate them. That's a pretty good lesson to learn here from the chess club. I'm not saying that they did so in that previous round, but it's definitely something any of their opponents should remember. Just because it's a team that does not practice maybe as much as others and isn't in this formalized environment, they can still really pack a punch. And sometimes in Siege, this is true at the amateur level, it's the teams that don't practice as much and don't really care as much as well that can kind of have a better luck. Some people will call it the kind of that Cinderella sort of grace period, and maybe a honeymoon effect could be another way to describe that as well. But you definitely got to watch out, because the team that has, you know, the least amount to lose and they don't really care as much, they feel like they play with less pressure, can operate with excellency in the moment and in environments like this one. Back to the match, however, as vertical play is being established by Snake, trying to see if he can maybe find somebody below. And I love this use of the Aruni laser gate. Just adds to that extra bit of utility that you'll need to waste before you can actually address what's going on in the inside. And what a shot there by Spoit. That's what we know him for, those crack shot engagements, able to find picks and make angles work when maybe other players wouldn't be. And this process of opening up the showers wall, it's definitely going a little bit slower than you might want. Is look at Skimsy, just walks right out through the single door from Dining.
Such aggressive plays from Killer found them one opening duel, and Reese, the strategy that we see, screams European style of play. I mean, they pioneered the impact trick of showers, and they're going to be bringing out here. They're showing the North Americans what is up once again. Look at these runouts. Look at these aggressive plays. Hawks, a standout player from round number 3. Maybe a little bit too aggressive for him. Unbridled aggression ends up getting that refrag about 60 seconds outside that window, but still, hey, it's able to find that kill. Spoit still isolated in church. He has to be very careful playing this position. He has multiple rotates back to his bomb site, but he has to be mindful of the windows of the hunting pack, as the LMGE knows exactly where he is. Snake is starting to show his fangs, and with Reed Sync from behind, Spoit's in a dangerous spot.
He definitely is, but this Dining player proving to be quite elusive, but a great find there by Snake. However, Bills is still DBNO outside the building upstairs, so somebody is going to have to go up there and revive him, and Snake needs a teammate. He doesn't have a whole lot of health to make this fight, so finally the Zofia will go up there to revive her comrade, but still you have to kind of come back and bear down on these last two, which is easier said than done with only 25 seconds. Maybe it's going to be a green hall place. You can see the window is open, and this could be the option here, but Jello, maybe he hears the audio cue. He's got his gun sight trained, but it'll actually be a prone peek. That Snake wins out there with the LMG, just an outpouring of bullets, leaving it up to Skims. He's got the SMG 11, but will he be able to deny the plan to get stuck on the wall? And Bill sends him away.
To be fair, that smoke grenade probably wouldn't have been detonated as well. He gets slammed by a 50 caliber DMR, but what a heartbreaking round and a heart-pounding round for both rosters. It starts off with Killer being so aggressive, particularly Spoit. That swing he had behind that deployable shield, the headshot that he earned was incredible. It caught Chess Club lacking. They had no idea what took place there. But the problem was Killer just doubled down on that aggression. They kept swinging gunfights, whether or not it was from Shower Corridor, which ended up taking damage against Killer, or from Hawks' run out from Master Balcony. It ended up actually being kind of the bane of Killer, because they just wanted to take these gunfights. Spoit was unable to rotate away from Shower. Sure, he was able to get a couple good kills, an additional kill into Mr. B, but since he was isolated in Showers, he's a dead man walking. A confident roster like Chess Club will eventually be able to get that kill, and they definitely did so. And a great reaction. A lot of players just saying, Chess Club, all they do is click heads, and that's all they were good at. But really proven in round 4 that they're able to make mid-round adjustments. The hallmark of a strong IGL. And kudos to Mr. B for making that identification that pushing in through Small Tower, the west side of the map, was no longer an option, and they needed to do something different. And that different was that green push and a great prone by Snake all around. So far, Reese, I love exactly what these two rosters are bringing out.
5 seconds to insertion.
Yeah, I mean, this is showing us already from 4 rounds that this is going to be a very exciting matchup. Going to be a little bit of a different hold. This one, to me, this is what seems probably the most European out of anything that we've seen so far. A lot of times you'll see this hold known as the kind of the Shaiko hold, but that's more to do with the actual position itself. This is kind of something that Team Empire have come up with, where you'll have Arunis used and all of these various sight lines open up there in E-box, which might seem counterintuitive. You know, you might be like, why is all of this open? Why not just leave it reinforced? That way the offense can't really push through it. Well, that sort of works both ways, because now the defense have an additional angle that they can use to try to push you back, and it creates sort of a moment where the offense have to consider, if I push through this and there's no smoke coverage, which there isn't any smokes that have been brought here by their lineup, can there be a moment where somebody from the defense just pops up and they use this opening in the wall to gun me down? So you have to be a little bit aware of that. You need to be cognizant that that's what the defense are trying to make you do. That's what they want you to do. So you have to play this with that in mind and try to put extra pressure on the players that you see below here. Mainly, it's going to be Skimzy playing at close Shaiko. Probably see maybe some nades used to dispatch him. Very rarely you would have X-Kairos used and you would actually open the E-box wall, but with Mr. B down by Shaiko, or rather by Spoit, I mean, that's no longer going to be an option.
Now, you do have a Maverick in play, so you can open up any of those hatches that you desire. 2 hatches are the most that Torch can do. And Killer, they do have access to bring out a Kaid, but they're electing not to do so, instead of for more surface area firepower. And back grenades go out right at Doc's feet. He won't take any damage loss, but he will lose one of his drones. Drones are so coveted at this stage of this round, particularly when 2 players and your primary droner of Mr. B is off the board. Skims has been hyper-aggressive still. He's doubling down on this aggression, and why not? Spoit was able to find the first 2 kills of this round. Doc is pinned down at North Stairs. He has to call in for reinforcements. Those reinforcements, it comes from an E-box drop.
Nice little pickup there. We'll see one from Doc as well. Look at the Iana. She's definitely getting aggressive, but that'll ultimately be her undoing. Flashes sent. Looks like Reedsync, he wants to capitulate this freezer position, and he does it well as Reedsync with the assist there onto Hawks. 1 versus 2 for Spoit, but he does not find a kill as he's eliminated by Reedsync after seizing control and marching in from Highway.
Practically the exact opposite round that we saw back in our last basement defense, back in round 2. That was where Chef's Club had the opening kills. They had 2 opening kills to their name, and they ended up playing too aggressive and too fast, ending up losing round 2. But here in round 5, Killer, they make the exact same mistake. They play too aggressive after receiving the first opening 2 kills. They swing the North Stairs, and they just allow Doc to go nuclear. He was stuck in a multi-lane crossfire. How is he not punished? Well, the answer to that question was it was the drop in from Bills. He created enough discord to have that crossfire temporarily disabled, and he was able to pick apart one member, allowing Doc to go down the North Stairs. And then that, it's individual gun skill. And why Killer has a plethora of that individual gun skill, it was Chess Club that was just playing so loose, so fast on that execute. Killer members were just unable to identify exactly where that push was coming from. Once you incorporate flanks from the west, freezer stairs, flashbangs going out, it doesn't really matter if Spoit's in the lobby or not. Doesn't matter if you could be one of the best mechanical amblers in the world. If you're flashed into oblivion and all you see is milky white, you're just not going to be able to shoot back unless you get the most lucky hip-fire headshot of your career.
10 seconds remaining.
It's a good point, and it was actually pretty similar to what I was going to say as well there with the pacing of round 2 compared to number 5, just kind of being the first and second thirds being sort of swapped, where in round number 2, it was Killer who were on the back foot after losing the opening 2, and then they just managed to kind of work together and strike back. There, Chess Club do it, but they also managed to kind of push that forward as well, and off their communication, I imagine there was drones involved as well. That probably sort of boiled over into a situation where Killer were made a little bit uncomfortable. We're going down to the basement again, so personally what I'm hoping is that Killer just repeat what they did in that previous round, but when they find the openers, they don't continue to hunt for the frags. They rotate back to the site and they try to play the cross angles.
All right, Doc. He droned temporarily to the east side of T1, but he forgets about the other angles. You mentioned about, in round 5, the power of opening up E-box, but you can do that through the natural architecture of the map, shown here by the swing in green. great kill, and Chess Club got tunnel vision. They drone 1T1, and they say, all right, we're just going to continue with our execute without really minding what else could be transpiring. And now, Chess Club, they're going to have to replicate the success that they've had in previous rounds. They're very good at still being not tunnel vision, but focused on their executes, doing exactly what they need with Reed Singh. Flank watch off the board. There was a drone isolated and split, but it never actually had that information. Killer is starting to copy and paste exactly what transpired in round 5.
Now you can hear the effects of the air jab. Spoit will lengthen the lead as well. Skimsy tries to shoot the air jab, but he doesn't hit it, and I don't know how he doesn't get knocked down there. We'll ignore that one, and oh, what a shot by Bills as he swings around the corner, and he does manage to finally nick one there away from the Killer defense ranks, but this is where you have to work together. I was worried for a second there where Spoit tries to sort of walk back into Pillar. Not what you need to do. You have to hold the angles and try to work with your teammates. And this moment, I think that would probably be just making sure you're in comms with Jello to make sure what angles are being monitored is well communicated, and the defense sort of work together off of that intel, because if there's any two players who can work together to make a clutch happen, probably be Mr. B and Bills. The Jaeger still trying to play it. He continues to harass Bills, but not enough to give him that opening window, and Killer are doing a great job right now of just sitting in position, sort of intermittently letting Chess Club know that this is our map control. You cannot come back in and retake it, but not overextending to the point where Chess Club are able to find frags, because a 2 versus 3 in this scenario could be doable. Bills will drop. He dies very quickly. Spoit lands the headshot, and it's all left up to Mr. B.
That was an explosive that killed Bills, so that could have been his own nade, and, well, a silent drop was attempted by Mr. B, but his body, at least the live version of his body, won't even be able to hit the floor, shot out in midair by the pistol of Spoit. And that round played homage to round 5. Reese, we saw very similar scenarios are taking place. Killer playing aggressive, but they were more calculated with their aggression. We've seen Spoit roam over in North Tower multiple times, and this time it was another member of Killer doing the exact same style of play. But his job was not to roam, it was to get identified by a drone and have fellow teammates of Killers push up through green hallways. Skims did a wonderful job of being very silent over in green, and as soon as he hears Donk stomping his way on forward, a free kill for him. And more kills take place throughout the round for Killer. Why? Because members of Chess Club were playing as individuals. Even their droning left a lot to be desired, and that's kind of a bitter pill to swallow if you're a fan of the North American amateur roster of Chess Club, because they're known for their synergy. They're known for playing together as a team. Very rarely are you going to witness them make mistakes like that. Even the death that Reed Singh had, flooding in through meeting room, and sure, there was a drone in that position, but he was about a second too early. If he waited in green 1 second, that drone would have identified the member of Killer over and split, and that round would have been at least different, because it would have been Reed Singh debating on, do I swing this corner and take this gunfight, or do I just wait for him to push deeper into meeting room and then take the gunfight on my own terms? But sadly, the gunfight was on the side of Killer, and they were able to exploit that style of play. Now, Reese, none of that actually matters anymore, because it's round 7. It's a side swap, and Chess Club will be starting off their first round of defense tied.
Suppose you could label that as Chess Club winning the half, but it doesn't feel the greatest for them to close the half in a round where they, I would say, lost to themselves for the most part with how they played there and kind of just got victimized by timing. Keep an eye on Spoit, though, lurking around the bottom of Laundry, and you can still see, look at the members of Chess Club and watch their highlights. They're all in the process of making various bits of setup and wow, Snake goes down. He gets his head ripped off, and lucky there's an ADS there to absorb the breaching round. Otherwise, that might have been a situation where Mr. B goes down, and Bills will pick him back up. Of course, being the good teammate, supporting Mr. Tachanka and getting him back up into the fight. But that's really a good showcase of the kind of play that Spoit can do in a moment's notice. If a frag is needed, or maybe it's not even needed and he just wants to find one, he can do that, and he's probably one of the better players to do so, to find a frag and make that impact. But you can see that aggressive style of siege that I talked about earlier. Well, Killer definitely did it a lot, but wow, Bills has excellent game sense to make that mark against Sploit, as he probably expected the Ash player to be on the drone there in the garage and try to chase in for the follow-up.
That refrag is so powerful for Chess Club for multiple reasons. Not only do you remove the top frag for Killer, but you also remove 20% of the drone economy. That's going to start to add up when you get to the execution window. Now, Killer, they really haven't droned a lot of that map. They didn't need to. They realized that, hey, everybody from Chess Club is more or less in the bomb site, and we can just go for a direct execute. Sploit starts that off with an opening kill, but now the control, it's slowed down, and Bills is just going to take more aggressive.
Wow!
Two of them line up for Bills. An incredible punchline for him. He finds his third. He's just playing lights out. He meets hyper aggression with even more aggressive style of play.
Yeah, wow, way to take it up a notch, seeing how Sploit started off that one and just completely ratcheting it up to a whole nother level. Skimzy left as the last, and couple members of Chess Club on less HP than you would really want them to be here, so here's hoping that Skimzy maybe can snatch a few of them. Somebody just got knocked down with an air jab in the green hall, and ooh, that one almost got a bit spicy. We'll have the tack timeout called there by Jello as they need a moment to recollect their thoughts after such a back and forth round.
You said it best. Back and forth. I mean, Bills won that round for Chess Club. We talk about transfer kills being very rare in Rainbow Six Siege, where most often transfer kills result in HP being dealt with, but not actually that kill. Bills breaks that outright. I mean, honestly, that round that we saw from Killers kind of reminded me of, like, this is quite a callback, but if you remember FaZe Flamingos back in the day, coached by Wasp, where they would just see an opening and they would just say, all right, I'm YOLOing into the bomb side. I mean, that's the play style of Sploit. He's going to play into that perfectly. He sees an opening, he gets a whiff of blood, and he is like a great white shark. He just storms on forward, and he gets a free kill at a DBNO. Unfortunately, though, Killers, they just weren't able to capitalize on that first opening kill and that first opening down. Why? Because they're playing fast. The utility of Chess Club was able to stop them at every single twist and turn, and it didn't really matter that Selma charges were detonating hatches because the offense was linear. They're coming in through the basement stairs of Laundry and the basement stairs of Freezer. That's not really a lot of surface area. And if you throw impact grenades, nitrocells, smoke grenades, you're going to stop that style of play dead in its tracks, and you incorporate phenomenal mechanical skill like Bills. I mean, you can see what it causes, a giant brick wall.
Yeah, and the one thing there is that round, it felt like it lacked a certain element of structure that a lot of the Chess Club offenses had, especially with relation to that basement site. There was sort of this play where Sploit's just like, I'm going to walk down the main stairs. He gets a kill, he gets it down as well, which leaves the Tachanka Mr. B at 20 HP after he gets rezzed, but then on, there's some hard breaching that goes on, but never is there really like a coordinated push where all the offense are kind of on the same page, and that does strike me as a problem that could potentially carry on into some of the future rounds if it's not immediately corrected now with this opportunity of the timeout to step back and say, okay, let's make a new plan for the next objective.
I think we need to back up 1 second. Laura Tachanka was in that lobby. Mr. B is a Tachanka stan. I mean, from his days over with Tidal, he practically mains Tachanka at this point. And I think, Reese, you and I may be desensitized to seeing Lord Tachanka and Smoke in the same lobby, again, from the past two roster iterations that Chess Club is derived from. But it's interesting to see how that's going to stall. We never really saw the Surmika launcher get used and never really stop Sploit's execute, but you're still going to have access to that operator moving into round number 8, back upstairs for the first time, actually, for Chess Club as they decide to defend dorms.
Well, let's see if that timeout has been utilized well by Killer to put them back at equal, or if Chess Club are going to strengthen their lead and put us on a 2-round margin. The Tachanka still here. Mr. B has definitely made it a big point of his playstyle to constantly bring the Tachanka. Even before, you'll know, the Tachanka received his most recent buff. When he had been buffed previously and he got the new Shumika, that was really when Mr. B started to bring him even more so. I don't know if I would extend it to say that Mr. B was the pioneer of bringing Tachanka into competitive play, but it feels like an accolade that maybe we can sort of say he pitched into that a little bit, and he's definitely been very outgoing in his Tachanka play, so it's nice to see teams follow in that footstep as well. Look at the quick play from Sploit as he immediately assumes a position in Trophy. It's been left undefended. There's a player on the throne, and Bills will be reeling after that death, as he was not expecting Sploit to be just in the midst of Trophy, but I suppose that's kind of the situation that you'll end up in when there's no intel inside Trophy and there's a bulletproof camera that nobody is watching.
The standout player from round 7, the man that clutched it. Excuse me? Jello? What happened to his charges? I mean, he puts question marks. I have question marks going through my mind. I mean, he got robbed on util, but shenanigans tend to happen. But since Killer, they do have that opening kill underneath their belt, those shenanigans, it's not going to really matter in the long run if they're able to continue to compound the kills. Sploit has been playing lights out. He spots an opening, he sees a potential avenue to sprint on forward, and he has no fear because he's able to rely on the mechanical skill. Now, Rovi will be able to participate much more in this round, and that's a critical casualty to have if you're a fan of Killer. Nades off the board as well as that Maverick Porch. North Attic might not be opened up, which means the misplay of the X-Cairo pellets, just the randomness that took place there, might start to compound because you won't be able to actually walk in through that breach.
Yeah, you'll have to go down prone, and even then you still might get stuck. I just sort of want to call that one a moment where you get sieged, and unfortunately, there's nothing you can do to rectify that now that Rovi is dead. But look at Spite. Here he comes. Steps into the objective. Peeks on. Spots the smoke here from Attic. He pulls a Toxic Babe. That's the wrong move, Reed Sync. And he doesn't live long enough to make the recourse. Doc DBN out. A man advantage for Killer. But what's Skimsy doing there at the bottom of White? It's hard to tell, really. But Jello should be able to get the plant down no matter the circumstances. Snake is surely fighting back. Now with Doc confirmed, it's assured. The 1 versus 2 is in effect for Snake, and he's going to have to try to fight his way through. And the diffuser is in a real rough spot for Snake, but a flashbang left from Jello might be able to separate the difference. Snake maybe could think about attempting the ninja defuse, but he'll tempt the doorway, spots the elbow. Oh no, he doesn't see the player, and he'll fall to the Habana out from the prone angle.
The imitation of Bills for Snake didn't quite cross the finish line. A valiant effort for him. I mean, he had a 1vx. I mean, a 1v4 in that scenario is practically impossible to win, particularly when Sploit is on the other team with Jello, and great coverage of the doorframe. I mean, Snake, we've seen how mechanical he's been throughout this series, but just not able to break down that multi-lane crossfire on that diffuser. More than enough utility for Chess Club to stop that nest egg from going down on the offensive side, but the smoke grenades, the Shumika launcher, while used a few times that round, it never really stalled the attack of Killer. That was because Sploit got the opening kill in the first 15 seconds of the round, just flying in through Master and flying straight up to Trophy. Bills is going to be a little bit more situationally aware moving on forward, because he can't be sitting in a door frame on drone. And we talk a lot about the role of support players on rosters, and in all honesty, your primary support, ReadSync or Mr. B, should be the one on camera. Why? Because they're going to be the ones that are furthest away from a potential execute. Sure, there could be anomalies. Sure, there could be atypical plays. Maybe the off chance that Amaru flies in through the hatch or through the window, but that's so unlikely that you're better off having the smoke who's tucked into the northwest side of dorms, sit on cameras, cycle through, queuing as fast as he possibly can to gather information, so that way your star player, Bills, is gone up, because you know Sploit in round 7 was hyper-aggressive. He's hyper-aggressive in round 8, and Reese, surprise, will be hyper-aggressive in round 9.
So I guess I'll skip beating around the bush. Do you think that round goes differently if Bills doesn't die on the opening death from Sploit?
It goes differently. I don't know who ends up winning it, but Bills is such a good player. With him as a threat in that round, things are going to go different. The diffuser
Right.
is placed with about 60 seconds left in that round. If Bill's alive, the diffuser, it still might go down. Killers still might win, but it
Okay.
takes place with 15 seconds. And it seems to be kind of a rivalry right now. Spoit, Bills, but so far, the cash has been cashed, or the bank has been cashed out by Spoit.
Yeah, we'll have to get a bit of a tracker there to see who comes out on top after the end of the series. Is it Bills who wins, or is it Sploit? Make your selection in Twitch chat to let us all know. It's traded out, though, by Mr. B, and a Chess Club have made a pretty large departure in the way that they've made this strategy. Last round, I think they only had one Nitro, if any. That would have been from the Cade. We didn't really get much time to see because he died so quickly. This time, it's 2 Nitros, and the more riveting factor of this one is Chess Club are trying to hold sort of more of a roam strategy. They're actually playing from below this time, but I would be a little hesitant with that because if by chance Killer march into the site and win one of those openers, maybe they just trade out, they could very easily assume control of the objective. And so long as Mr. B is not able to nitro the plant, I mean, that could be a scenario where Killer just say, to hell with it, let's go in at max speed and let's try to get this plant done while the attack is still, the defense is still getting prepped. Mr. B, now his second kill there. Nice little nitro out to trophy. It does reduce the amount of plant denial, but in the 3 versus 3, I think Chess Club are trying to play off the kills here.
You mentioned that plant denial is only going to come from Reed Sync now. First round of Toxic Gas goes out a little bit early. He has 30 seconds of time denial, and sure, there are 60 seconds left, but he'd be better off using it as plant denial or denial of the insertion into this west or this south main breach. The reason you don't smoke now is you still have great coverage from Doc. He's yet to be pushed away. No smoke grenades, no flashbangs have really gone out to make coverage of that angle. Now you could start to go for a smoke. Why? Because Spoit is on the white stairs. You won't have Doc as comfortable on this angle. He's going to have to relocate. There's his relocation bomb. He's going to go straight down to the grave. The 2 defending mines, the hive mind of Chess, the only ones left for their team, but Mr. B has been calm as a cucumber in every single one of these engagements, and there's Reed Sync finding his kill with utility. Spoit, the star-studded gunner, there's his one, but 9 seconds left. A relocation of Reed Sync, a long angle for him in North Tower. He knows diffuser's down, and he's just going to sit there. No case to be seen from Spoit, so he's going to sacrifice that round. We can see big brain plays, we can see big brain frags, but Chess Club, they're going to rely on the time. Father Time steps on forward.
Nice nifty little adaptation there as Chess Club play more of that roam strategy, and it does force Killer to waste a bit of extra time, and I gotta give some credit there to Chess Club. They made a change in the strategy, and from the get-go, it didn't really go very well. They lost 2 players before they were really able to make sort of a significant strike back, and it was looking a little bit kind of wavery, but they do manage to right the ship there at the end, and the smoke, I think, did play a big role in that. You saw that one of the players try to come through the breach and actually got taken out by the toxic gas. I want to say that was Hawks, but I'm not entirely sure. It's just that player from the master bedroom walk-in closet, and though we saw a great play, I want to highlight this as well. Sploit putting pressure on the white stairs, you know, activating that Malusi's Banshee, so there was this threat. That defender you saw, I think, heard that Banshee, and maybe in their mind that clicked that, oh no, the attacker, here he comes up the white stairs, so he adjusts his position, and when he does that, he actually gets caught out by the player at the trophy area, and because of that, that almost was the moment where Killer struck ahead and started to hit their stride. But even despite that little microcosm there, Chess Club are able to bear on a little bit of team damage under Reed Sync. It sounded like that was from Bills, but I guess we'll let that one slide, given the Bills is the top performer right now for Chess Club.
It was Bills trying to shoot a drone in the drone hole between Laundry and J Bunker. Mistakes remain, and, you know, things happen. It's you just move on, and you'll keep your head as focused as possible. It's an interesting deviation between the strats that Killer is bringing out. We saw the Aruni gates placed particularly on the east door of Bunker, but now that's not being shown at all by Chess Club. Not even a one-my pancake. The only catcher operator is the ADSs of Bills. Now he's been maintaining Jaeger the entire rounds that we've seen. All of his defensive stints have been on that Jaeger roll, but look at all the utility that Killer can use, and that's why you bring Rooney Gates. That's why you bring My Pancakes. You have to start up Jello from just flying on forward. He has an LMGE after all, Reese. The only way of stopping him is through a util burn.
Good point. You have to make sure that you are trying to be a little bit more measured there, and I imagine that loss of Reedsing could sting a little bit towards the late stage, especially with the progress we see made by Killer so far. I think it is definitely commendable and worth comment. You can see and hear one of the drones there, the Rotero, coming out from Hawks as it's working to displace some of the chess club members. This is a very back and forth sort of skirmishy round. Mr. B with a nice little play that he makes there, but he does get a bit greedy and hangs around in the pillar area for too long. Doc has got to sort of seize this moment here. He's undetected behind the pillar, and as a result of that, he will swing out and connect a headshot there against Hawks. Would have been nice to have a drone. Maybe it'll be the nade that does him in. A nitro sent out. Detonation comes and it down Skimzy. Whether he knows it or not, it won't matter much. Skimzy is now rezzed. He's back up into the fight, courtesy of his teammate there, Rovi. That one really almost could have gotten out of hand, but it looks like Chess Club might have just been able to temper it for a moment.
A hectic few kills there, and it's going to get a little bit more spicy. Rovi, the only one left for his team. He's on low HP, but same thing can be said for two of his targets that he has to find. All below 50 HP. That's going to be free kills for Rovi, be able to pounce into action, a spring from the north stairs, but he's still stuck in this 3-lane crossfire. Breaking one of those pillars down, but he needs more control. He's able to go for a clone and gather the information. No nades to be seen, but he won't be able to do any of those. So the swing in from Solo Khan. It seems like, Reese, both these rosters so equal, but it's just coming down to the knuckle brawls as they just fight their way for every single inch of map control.
That one was fairly back and forth. Towards that mid stage, it got a little bit crazy, you gotta say there, and that one could have gone either way. I sort of feel like maybe if Killer had a drone in pillar and they had some information when that swing came out, they could have reversed that situation. Instead, for it to have been Mr. B first, he swings, that he gets traded, and then somebody else tries to follow him up as well there. Maybe that could have been just a situation where Mr. B swings, he dies, Doc swings, he dies, and then now Killer can man the man advantage, and it really shows you how incredibly close either of these two teams are, but doesn't matter that they are close in theory and on paper and in some context from the actual rounds. When it comes down to closing out victories, Chess Club have managed to do it a little bit more. And I think a parallel that I would draw, it's pretty relevant now as we go to the tertiary site in round 10, would have to be going back to round number 4. That real close one there where it looked like maybe Killer had the form and being able to, you know, defend that site, but then just that last second push, the green hall take from the two members is enough to overpower them. And I mean, it does make sense, I suppose, given that this is Chess Club's map pick. Perhaps Clubhouse will be a little bit more familiar with Killer, but we still do have a little bit of game left to play.
I love how different these two rosters' approaches are to the actual strategy, but how similar they are when it comes down to taking gunfights. They realize the power of information, and as soon as you gather that information, you have to make a play. One of the biggest criticisms we tend to have of amateur rosters in North America is they don't really understand the purpose of droning. They gather information, and then they relay it to their entry, and then the information just kind of gets lost in cyberspace. But both Killer and Chess Club, as soon as they gather information, Sploit springs into action. He just almost like he has like something put in his mind when Hawks drones, Sploit swings, because he has real-time information. It's an asset that Killer is able to use time and time again, and it's being shown here in this round. A fast execute upstairs in a small tower, but you can't execute past those nitro cells. Mr. B was monitoring the situation the entire time, and with that nitro cell and the LMGE skims off the board early, that's going to really hurt the lethality of the offense of Killer, particularly there on match point.
And it just keeps on coming there for Chess Club. They are mounting a bit of a surge forward here on their own match point. Mr. B down, though, and he's going to have to sort of crawl through uncertain territory. You can see a Z-ping Cox makes a move against Mr. B, who I believe attempted a main door run out. We'll have to see what exactly that was on the replay attempt. Doc gets a little bit lost in the sauce as he tries to move back into dining, but a smoke suddenly obscures his vision. But the Wamai himself could still be a bit of a serious playmaker. As you know, that double door is a bit of a risky option for the defense, but it's still something that Killer, with only 2 men left, have to keep in mind. Roby is distracted a bit. He's trying to use his Gemini, and he'll source some intel, maybe enough to get the kill there onto Snake as things are brought back to a 2 versus 2. And well, the offense, they really have to give this one their all if they want to continue fighting and push us into round number 12.
There's an ADS. Well, my stack. You can use those nades to soften up Kitchen. But Pills, he can soften up with his bullets. A tandem swing for him. An incredible shot. How has Bills been so consistent this series? Anytime he smells one member of Killer, there's always another one lurking. A great lineup for him and Chess Club, able to take map number 1 of this best of 3.
Bit of a shocking result there, and an incredibly tense and fun matchup to cast. I'm sure the second one, as we go next to Clubhouse, will be equally as fun to participate in. So we'll see if this is going to be another very close scenario, or maybe Chess Club come into this with a little bit of flair and they start to unsettle their opponent's Killer a little bit more so. So do you have any closing thoughts on that one, Brian?
Honestly, we're probably going to see an exact copy and paste going into Clubhouse. Both rosters are so close. They're on the same wavelength. They have the same style of play. And it's just going to be able, who understands that style of play more is going to be the roster able to break that down. Now, Oregon, it was Chess Club. But again, these two teams are so in sync with each other. I'm still expecting a 3-map series, which means that's going to be Killer moving on to Clubhouse. But Reese, we're also going to have to take a quick break, stepping away for about 5 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go anywhere. Keep this tab open. We'll be back with you momentarily.
When the lights go down, I've seen hell in you, but you don't care, no, you don't care, no. You just rather watch me fall from a quarter mile. I can see you at the call. Think about it, ring won't tell you what I saw. When you break it off, you'll see who had it all. You had it all. You said you wanted to fall into oblivion. Forget about the world we're living in. Fall into oblivion, oblivion. Oh, going fall into oblivion. Fall into oblivion. Forget about the world we're living in. Fall into oblivion, oblivion. I'm going in. You can't fall asleep when you're counting stars. Get it together. Your mind can't sleep when you let it serve. Now you wanna see me fall from a quarter mile. I can see you at the call. Think about it, ring won't tell you what I saw. When you break it up, you'll see who had it all. You had it all. You said you wanted to fall into oblivion. Forget about the world we're living in. Fall I'm going on.
Welcome back to the Kings Cup, powered by FirstBlood. We currently find ourselves midway through our grand finals. Map number 1, Oregon, is a 7-4 victory with Chess Club over Killer. A phenomenal map number 1. Both teams absolutely fought to the bitter end. And if you yourself, if you think you have what it takes to go against Killer or against Chess Club, fear not, friends. There's still more entries to be had next month. September 17th, there'll be another Kings Cup tournament. They take place every third week of the month, and they're always a free entry with a $1,000 prize. So if you think you can best these two rosters, make sure you sign up before the 18th of September.
We'd love to see you compete here and potentially earn your spot on the broadcast, but if I had to pick one word from either of these two teams' names to describe the first map of play, definitely would not be Chess, and it definitely would be Killer, because that first game was incredibly high octane, and it left us in a real need to see some more action. And well, we have that for you here as we get into Clubhouse. You can see Zofia ban. That's definitely a bit of an odd one there for Killer. Perhaps could be something of a target to one of the members from that Chess Club roster.
I mean, we saw Snake on his belly crawling with the LMGE spraying bullets, so I too would be terrified if that would be an option. But again, you just have to realize both these rosters are bringing out a lot of mechanical skill. If you're able to shut down one of the star players of Chess Club, maybe that's going to hurt them. Now, that ban won't really come into effect. Yep, it's going to take 7 rounds so we even get to that mark. But similar bans, at least on the defending side, Mira Falls, Valkyrie Falls, it's all staple bans, exactly what you expect out of competitive Rainbow Six Siege. But there is an anomaly. We see Zoe being banned. That means hard breachers are still available. The Queen of Hatches, Habana, has access to Clubhouse as well as Maverick. So opening up these walls on offense is going to be very easy to do. And in fact, when we see bans like this, we tend to see the offense be the dominant side. We tend to see a lot of 4-2 splits in favor of the attacking roster.
Yeah, that has been kind of a change the Clubhouse has seen in the current day, in the current meta as we are here contemporarily, and it's just sort of the situation where the map is at the moment, and that's at most true here on CCTV and Cash, often considered the primary bomb site, and usually it is still numero uno in rotation, but its success has definitely seen a bit of a drop-off, considering the attackers have a clearer idea of what they need to do, and I honestly don't think that Sophia ban is going to have the most sincere impact on this game. I don't think it's going to be anything demoralizing. Maybe you'll see a little bit extra Ash play come through, but ultimately, as you mentioned as well, you have the full choice of hard breachers. You could bring Maverick, you could bring Habana, you could bring Ace, you could even decide that it's time to bring in a Thermite. So all of those are available, and you can bring as many of them as you want to in each of these compositions. On the first round, we are just only going to see 2 of them. That'll be the Maverick and the Habana stepping in there. You can see 4Killer on your right, but they are going to encounter a little bit of opposition, namely in the form of the Electro Claws via the Moroccan operator Cade.
And that's not going to change up the placement of your attacking operators. Very often, you're going to see Jello open up the west side of Garage, open up the elevated side, which is the south side of Garage, and also a walk-in on the north side. You won't be able to do that with the K now active. So you're going to have to rotate Maverick over. You're going to have to draw a giant circle on the south side, and then you'll just have your traditional way of playing. You can still open it up with your Maverick Torch, but it seems like Killer is going to say, too complicated. I designed a particular style of attacking strategy. It's opening up East Plat, and we're just going to continue to go with that style of play. Now, when they do end up opening up this wall, they have to be very careful of the setup Chess Club has brought out. There's a deployable shield between the connectors of the 2 bomb sites with ADS and My Pancakes. So if you want to push away Bills on that smoke, you're going to have to use a lot of utility, and we only see 1 set of flashbangs in play. So if you had a set of smoke grenades on Skims, that's your really only option. So things not looking particularly well in the util department for Killers.
And that definitely is something to keep in mind here. There could be an opportunity where maybe your intel or your util is a little bit low, but it seems there is plenty of intelligence there on Reed Sink's position. Maybe Mr. B tries to come in and fill that void, but he is a little bit kind of catsy about what might be going on there down through the opening made in the reinforcement. Mr. B still lurking below, while Bills has taken a bit of a brutal beating. Now, finally, though, it'll be the Cade who earns a frag. It's a trade for the earlier deaths of their teammate Reed Sink. Exploit will adjust his position, maybe try to put a bit of extra pressure. However, in the meanwhile, the Cade has actually dropped down into lower blue and has made sure that his position is not exposed. But with Hawks inside rafters, this situation could get a little bit grisly for Chess Club with a player in the basement and Killer knocking on the site's door. This one could explode very quickly, and I think Bills' last Toxic Babe could be maybe that one saving factor that tries to keep the offense away until Chess Club can rotate back.
Killers on every single floor right now, executing and applying pressure. But that pressure is really not doing anything at Chess Club. They're still standing their ground. And in fact, it's the reverse Uno card as Chess Club comes from underneath Mr. B in his 4K. Nitro cells, bullets through the floor. He is a roaming 3 armor, but yet he dishes out so much pain and suffering.
Wow, that was a real shocker there from the Cade, just playing absolutely lights out and finding impact, securing kills wherever he was needed, and a really clutch Nitro as well, because I think if that player there inside of servers, right at the mid side, had been allowed to maybe assume control inside of Cash, that could have caused panic to set in for Chess Club, and it might have ended up in a situation where a couple of fights go the other way and Killer get control of the side, and they really send Chess Club into a bit of a tizzy. It does not end up in that way, however, as Chess Club on their inaugural defense here on Clubhouse are the victors in all actuality, and now choose to go next to Church and Arsenal. So for their composition here, Chief, is there anything really you think is worth talking about?
I mean, Cade is going to be something we always have to be monitoring in the back of our minds. He's such a common ban on most maps, particularly here on Clubhouse. And the fact that he's in play is going to change up a lot of what the offense needs to do. For example, if there's a Cade on the north kitchen hatch, well, now you're going to have to rotate Maverick on over, or you have to be very good at placing your nade in through the actual metal rafters part of the kitchen soft wall, or the soft floor. Same thing has to be said for Moto. If there's a Cade on Moto in an invulnerable spot, well, Hawks' only option is spending about 15 seconds opening up that hatch. And if Chess Club is able to play the way they did in round one, with their full expansive hold, where they're practically holding every single nook and cranny of the map, Killer has to be very mindful of their drones, and that's probably the one weakness Killer has. They're incredibly strong in the strat department. They're incredibly strong in the mechanical skill department, but sometimes their drones are a little bit too quick and they miss opportunities. They miss some roamers, Mr. B being the one from round one. And the crazy thing was, Killer had control meters away from Mr. B.
Whether he knows it or not, Mr. Bills is actually kind of being pursued right now by Chess Club, or by Killer, as they're sort of marching up the stairs searching for this intel. Will choose to sit back inside of gold and hold position, maybe hoping that he doesn't get droned. Gemini will run through, but he does check the corner, and now Bills will shoot it. He launches a Nitro and does nothing. It almost connected onto Jello, who does manage to obtain a little bit of damage, but I guess that's unfortunate for Bills, as he was not prepared for the sudden twitch from inside the construction. A little bit too quick there with the drone, as it does fall into the Aruni gate. Not sure if that was maybe wanted or not. I would hope so. But either way, Spite will garner another kill now. Mr. B is taken out of the equation, and default cam is left up outside.
I'm going to answer your question retrospectively, Reese. The one thing that the defense of Chess Club was missing was a set of impact grenades. If they were able to impact trick that hatch, the north hatch, things would have been completely different. Snake just had a code brown as he thought he was being pressured, but that's just an Ionic clone. And he's able to sit back and relax for at least another day. Oh, a unique strategy coming in from Reed Singh. He realized that he wasn't being pressured, using and exploiting the camera that was not shot. The default cam rotates to the top side of Escape Tunnel, also known as dirt. He can just sit there perpetually. He has enough utility and a shotgun in close quarters. He's going to do his best Hawks impression. We've seen how powerful that weapon is in a CQC. And if Jello just walks in here haphazardly with no drones, doesn't check the vertical holes, he might get smoked. There's his kneecap. There's the diffuser surrendered. Reese, this round is getting spicy once again.
Now that kill might have just turned the tide, but here comes Skims as he just walks into Blue Jenny, and he does net the kill against Snake. But Reed Sink, what are you looking at, man? As he walks right back into the site, completely unaware that the Twitch there had assumed that position and had the clear sight line. So this round looked like maybe Chess Club were about to wrench it back, and it had brought the stands to equal, but now Doc's position well understood, and the case down. That's some more pressure here on the Aruni, as she's the last one left standing, still trying to fight him, but not really being given many opportunities, and that'll be Spoik there for the headshot out of the L85 as he finally spots the Aruni there from inside church.
A difficult clutch, but honestly, that round was kind of sacrificed by the lack of utility. We mentioned how strong Cade is, but where are those impact grenades? Just because you have Cade on the board doesn't mean you're going to have the luxury of deviating away too much from traditional norms. You have to be able to deny hatch, particularly when the offense is bringing out a Selma charges. Maybe if those were Habana pellets, you could have the luxury of saying we don't really want to go for the impact trick because there are ways. If a competent roster, which Killers is absolutely filled with competent players, you are able to put 1x2 configuration X Cairo pellets on the hatch and bypass an impact trick. You have to do it like frame perfect, but Killers is more than capable of doing so. And speak of the devil, it shall appear. A set of impact grenades could have been 6-picked into. That was Bill's in the 6th pick, but he has a nitro cell instead. And honestly, as soon as that hatch got opened up, Chess Club was just sitting ducks in their bottom side. Exploit multiple vertical angles being used by a sledgehammer, taking gunfights into the rotation of Church. Honestly, Chess Club, they were just too linear in their defense. They had one roamer of Bills who used a nitro cell, wasted it, was unable to dish out any damage to the Ace Selma or the Ace itself. Honestly, maybe Chess Club, they put themselves top sign, they roam near the stairwells, they snipe a few drones, and they start to hinder the offense that way.
5 seconds remaining.
I'm pretty sure Chess Club, this has got to be intentional for them not to bring the impacts, maybe deciding that the C4s and having these other pieces of auxiliary setup are more important in the moment, but, you know, it could be a question for after the game. We'll have to see if Killer are going to, once more, make sure to... How did Mr. B's claw get cleared last time? Was it a frag grenade, or did he not have one on the kitchen hatch?
I did not see one on the catch hatch. At least I didn't hear it. It could have been there.
Okay.
I didn't hear the audio distortion or the visual distortion of it, so I think it was on Moto. Is he trying to trick?
I'm
Where are
not
his claws?
sure. But the problem is with no Thatcher in play, you can't really trick. There's not really any tricking that can happen. So maybe he's hoping that if it gets cleared, he can throw another one? I guess that would be the only real trick that you could do here. We'll see, there's a nade from Hawks, he drops it through, but it kind of gets a little bungled as he hits it through the doorway. You need to be real careful about how long you're holding on to that one for. And it looks like it did maybe just get rid of the other electrical. Mr. B will finally answer that question for us as he does replace it. But Sploit has nades as well here, so just as easily he could try to bring his in as well. This could be more of a time delay factor. It's hard to really answer that, but for the Twitch to walk down blue, I mean, Chief, you got anything to say about that?
I mean, if you rock down blue, and it's a high risk, high reward strat. I mean, we've seen so many teams oil pit rush or crouch walk oil where it ends up working out, and it works. It just, you have to work it against the right team. Chess Club, the way that they're playing this defense, where they're all literally in the basement, that style of play just won't work because you're going to be stuck in there could potentially a 5-way crossfire if they were all looking in that direction. Unlikely, but possible. So you just have to be mindful of it. Maybe if you go with a Nook, we've seen, you know, rosters like DZ bring out Nooks on Chalet. It's possible to bring out a Nook here on Clubhouse and go for that style of play. I'm sending you a lot of hypotheticals. Why, Reese? Because it's just high risk, high reward. You have to have the drone information to make that play work, and Killers just simply didn't.
No, they were caught in a bit of a lack there. Sploit works a pick against Doc. You do bring it to a 4 versus 4. Guess they just don't drone it in. There we go for Bills, and he manages to even escape back without getting killed by the Maverick. That's a rough one. I don't know what the Maverick has been doing to not have yet opened up that hatch. It looks like he was a little preoccupied accomplishing something else. Sploit looking to make a play. He moves past the diffuser and does not pre-aim the prone, which will give Bills now his 3rd kill on the round. Will it be a 4th as Hawks chases in? It sure will.
Jeez, Bills, what did you eat for breakfast this morning? He's on a tear. I mean, how many 2Ks, rolling 2Ks on screen has he gotten? 3? 4 at this point? And we're only 2 maps in. I mean, Bills is reading the lobby perfectly. He understands when to flank, when to take his gunfights, and that's an asset that you can't overlook, particularly here on Clubhouse. Too many defending teams get stuck in their ways, go back to round 2, the basement defense that Killers ended up winning. Why? Because Chess Club was stuck in their ways. They weren't creating a strategy that forced Killers to react mid-round. Reese, you asked why on earth was that hatch so slow at opening up, that hatch being Moto. It was because Hawks was preoccupied with other things. He was trying to open up the north kitchen hatch. He was trying to use his nades. He was strung along, like dragging out a piece of gum from your mouth. He was all the way out in Narnia at that point because he had so many things he needed to do. That's one of the problems of relying on Maverick as both an operator acting as a pseudo Thatcher, somebody who opens up walls by removing util, as well as a hard breacher by actually opening up the wall itself. It applies a lot of pressure onto that offense, and right now the 2 primary defenders are primary defense, or the primary members who are playing support. They're kind of being strung along.
I think it is worth noting here that on round number 4, we'll head to Gym instead of CCTV and Cash, which at this period would have been unlocked with the 2 consecutive church defenses. So Chess Club clearly have some kind of play in mind that they want to work out here. It'll be Your fairly typical cache extension with that sort of extra piece of the top red hold as well, being supported by ADS placement. Just make sure that you can't use your Maverick Torch to open up that eastern wall at the top of the red stairs, and that Surrey Torch will just be confined to, at most, the southern wall, unless we see a situation in which that position gets capitulated. Now that the Maverick Torch has successfully completed the trick, we'll have Spoit with the assist, and wow, look at Doc. Look how eager he's getting to make the swing. Searching for the rappel angles. We can see the highlight just a little bit farther back. This is a real risky one for Doc, and maybe we'll have a rotation come for Hawks to try to provide additional support there now over by the distant jacuzzi balcony. Slow going here, though, I'd say, for Killer. They did get the wall open, which is usually kind of that primary step. You cannot let this wall stay closed. And Reedsink, how does he escape that one? Now, was that a bit of team damage, I guess, from Spoit as he got crazy excited? Thought about a possible run out. A Flores drone sends Reedsink running, but nobody is there to capitalize off the back of that displaced player. With having Snake gone by, this is a situation I think is recoverable for Killer, but you know, I have to question a little bit the prioritization. It seems for the moment this is just not going to be a cache side play. They're going to leave this to its own devices, simply have one man play for coverage with the eventual goal of executing from jacuzzi, probably onto gym or bathroom.
Snake was over by the east door garage door, and I think he went for a run out and ended up losing his life. Now, it did waste some time, and sure, Killers, they have a large advantage going into this round 4 gym execute, but since they wasted so much time clearing the east side of the map, cache CCTV, that's going to start to be their bane. They have to be very mindful of how they execute with more kills rolling in their way, and Reedsink still DBNO. It's a 5v2 effectively on the bomb side. Not a lot of utility either that Chess Club can start to whip at the defense. And there it is, Mr. B being the only one who's gone up for his roster. He has the option of going for that res. It's going to make a lot of noise. Flashbangs go out. Mr. B, you better hightail it out there before that nade finds you. He pushes up through the corner. An incredible headshot for him. But where's the coverage from Killer? It was lax temporarily, but Hawks is able to get back into the action.
Yeah, almost another huge multi-kill play there, just summoned up by Mr. B, but having too many targets to administer at once, he will fail in that endeavor. And so the gym trick play, I think maybe you could get away with calling it there. Just a little bit of a wrench thrown into the mix on that rotation of the sites. Does not work out, and we'll see the scores go back to being tied, and we'll head to where it all began on CCTV and cache. Thinking back to that first round here, Brian, do you think there's much that the offense need to change in the way that they went about it? I think they left Chess Club to their own devices a little bit too much there on the first floor. Do you think that could see maybe some additional attention?
I would have liked some emphasis being made over in construction. So to answer your question, yes, sure, you can have Mr. B roaming all you want. If you're able to apply pressure to the bomb site through the wall that Snake is currently reinforcing, then you can actually pressure A, which is going to probably be Cashbox, maybe Bills playing in that spot. When Bills falls, that's going to force Mr. B into a decision who's roaming. Does he come up the red stairs? Does he go for a flank? Or does he stay from nitrocell denial? And if Killers does their homework, they're going to have a preset drone somewhere over by wine, lounge, stock, bar, to be able to gather that information. So they'll know exactly what Mr. B is doing. With that relay of information, they can decide, all right, we can go for a plant. It's going to be an elevated plant, that's fine, we'll go on Cashbox. Or we'll take the gunfight to Mr. B. But as long as you have a strong setup of flank drones, Mr. B can roam for however long he wants. At a certain point, his roam won't be wasting any time because of the two-way crossfire coming in from East Platte and through construction on the west side.
I think this round is more so going to be just decided by what the plan comes through from Killer, because last time they managed to get control of Garage, and I think they just tried to use that extra bit of leverage. I don't know, what's the K doing? Mr. B gets a little crafty there with the hop out of the CC window. Now actually stuck behind a shield. Nice toss on that impact will make sure the Selma does not add to the weaknesses of the Raptors' position, and it does remove a little bit of these extra pieces of utility that could prompt a slowdown here from the offense. Reedsink now having a fight, but there goes another impact to launch it there out from the garage door, but Skims does not take any damage from that, more of sort of a piece of dust that'll brush off the shoulder and continue continue to march forward. Now Sploit earning a frag against Mr. B, who I would imagine probably got exposed from inside of Cash. And Doc, this is not the easiest fight to win. Got to play with that metal bar in mind, but that does still have a little bit of an effect on Sploit's fight that he's taking. In the meanwhile, we've lost Skims, so less in terms of that hard breaching, and the smokes, importantly, for coverage from the plant play. So any other hard breaching will have to come out of Hawks, but I think from the moment, Killer aren't going to go for that construction take that you might have signaled towards. Instead, this will try to be a garage push, but it has not gone very well so far. They've got more and more pieces of utility constantly being thrown out. However, for ReedSync, I would be careful where you throw those Ramai discs. You could have a nade go up there and probably take out the majority of your protection for what that's worth. A bit of an ugly spot there. Hawks is detected. We'll have another swing come through as Sploit does collect on the Doc, who is actually inside the site. It looks like Cash has been given up by the defense, and maybe that'll be the window here, but Jello still needs to come through. He's the one with the case. Snake now to run up the stairs searching for a player, but it's clear it's vacant here at top of red, and ReedSync starting to come in huge, but he loses it against Jello, who still, keep in mind, is the player with the case. But maybe a moment of hesitation. Maybe they're thinking about there's uncertainty. Perhaps there's less intel. He's got the case safety and he's behind the chassis. Will this one be possible for Snake? It's apparently not, as Hawks just there to play for the coverage. And it's just a little bit too difficult to pull off for the Jaeger.
I would have liked to see Hawks rotate and actually grab that control of Garage, particularly when they knew that ReedSync was isolated over in Rafter's window. I mean, that's a free 180 crossfire. You're going to be able to shut down that player 100% of that time. Sure, you'll be able to get a refrag if one of your players falls, but still, that's a refrag, and you're still going to maintain that man advantage. Honestly, strong round for Chess Club. Sure, they ended up losing that round, but they had a man disadvantage very early on, and for them to bring it back to a 3v3 and end up getting almost to the execution window and saving the day is quite impressive. But as you mentioned, Chess Club was passive in that round. They were relying so much on their utility, and then also weird parts of the round, we just see these unbridled aggression, where we just see Mr. B take these really hyper-aggressive gunfights. It was mixed signals, where Chess Club, they really didn't know what their strategy was designed to do. Was it designed to allow Mr. B to take gunfights, or was it designed to waste utility? When you're stuck in limbo and you're stuck in no man's land, far too often you're just going to be stuck in purgatory the entire time without your strategy really accomplishing what it needs to be done. Again, let's go back over to Oregon. Both teams on offense and defense, is very apparent what they wanted to do. They set up their strats and they go directly to execute. So far here on Clubhouse, Chess Club hasn't really showed me that level of insight to that map, and it makes sense because Clubhouse is not Chess Club's map pick. Oregon was.
Here we go for Killer. I have not really seen many crazy changes to the way that they've bundled together their lineup so far. They haven't really brought much in the flank watch department, but for their sake, there hasn't been too many crazy roams. There has been some plays like this, though. A lot of attempted runouts from Chess Club. Sometimes they have ended terribly. We've had a couple of Claymore situations, but it won't be so this time. And that's a very powerful frag to set the tempo and the tenor of this first round to get rid of Iana and her replicators, which is no doubt going to cause a bit of suffering for the intel. Now Doc will flatten Rovi, as Killer just can't seem to get out of the line of fire, and that's not going to be great for them. Is now that you've lost two of those very important pillars of this setup, ReedSync is in a really tough spot, but thought that was the kill there. No, in actuality, it's Sploit who tries to maybe place a vertical with his sledgehammer. Unluckily, though, finds a nitro in return. Probably one of the most dominant round starts that we've had out of either of these two teams from the entirety of this best of three so far. And Killer have got to summon something up between Hawks and Jello if they want any chance of taking an advantage at the close of this half.
I've never seen that angle that ReedSync was holding, and it seemed like the members of Killer also weren't prepared for it. And they won't be prepared for ring sync. CQC, Mossberg shotgun in hand, and a free kill for him. He just cycles that shotgun. Oh, hello there. Snake off the top rope. He starts the round off with a super aggressive run out from Stock, and he is going to finish it WWE style with a table slam. What a great way of finishing out your defending stint. Chess Club will go 3-3 at the half, exact same scoreline that they had on Oregon, but here's where things deviate just slightly. Chess Club was the roster going to defense in round 7 back on Oregon. Now they're the roster starting an attack. And remember, we have to harken back to the Zofia ban. It was designed to remove the lethality of Snake. No longer having access to the LMGE, he's going to have to find another operator to entry frag on. And it seems like it's going to be the good old faithful Ash.
Well, to talk about, impact on the entry through the first half, which I think is probably a little bit more relevant here, given that was when Chess Club were on the offense. I have recorded out of all 6 rounds, Snake never got any of the openers. He was oftentimes more in sort of a secondary entry role. A lot of times when it was Chess Club scoring the opener, it was coming out of Mr. B or Bills. There was a lot of moments where there's kind of some trick plays that they were running. Things like Nitros or them making a spawn peek attempt and it just getting a little bit lucky. And through that half, when it was killer on the defense, I felt on Oregon like they were able to leverage that defensive advantage and that sort of guerrilla warfare aspect a lot more to their favor. And when you compare it to the offense, it does look a little bit worse. They controlled 4 out of 6 total opening fights in that round. And a lot of times they were able to net another kill in retrospect as well to kind of build onto that advantage as well. That is... Look at the angle from Rovi. I didn't even know about that one.
Well, I'm using that in my ranked games now. You put that with like a rook 2 times, and that thing is going to be just
you gotta have the aim
terrible.
for the angle.
Hey, there's a reason why I'm a caster, my friend. With that being said, all of our players here, they have more than enough aim and also more than enough brain. Now, Snake pushing his way through. Great use of a drone, isolating somebody over by secret stairs. Scrim's forced to just hightail it out of there. A high-risk endeavor if he stays his ground. And Spoit, the opening casualty. Spoit has been opening death far too many times throughout this series. He's the main playmaker for Killers, and it makes sense that he's going to be the line of duty, the first person to stand up for his team and take a gunfight, but he has to be mindful of what gunfights he takes, because if he over-aggresses just a bit like he did in round 7, he's going to put his roster at a huge disadvantage. I mean, he dies in the first 35 seconds of the round, and now Chess Club has a lot of real estate to work with.
Very true, but we won't see that opening kill extend into 2. I don't know what's even going on at this point.
That was the nade that was dropped. So Doc had a nade in his hand, and he was headshotted. The nade hot drops and destroys the utility.
Not good. That's the one way to say it there for Chess Club, is that's going to be pretty costly to the bank of utility. But given the changes to Hibana and the fact that the hatch in stock has already been open, I don't know if it's going to be enough to raise alarm. Maybe there's a reduction in the chance that you can use those on one of the inner site walls. Maybe the church wall take will not be available here at this moment, but a church wall push is not really the meta at this point. There's a bit of a different look the teams have taken to this bottom floor attack in recent memory. You have another playmaker taken down. A lot of times you're looking to Skims, not really Spoit so much, to find those kills sort of at that mid stage. A lot of Spoit's impact is either all or nothing right at the start or the end of the round for clutch-wise. Usually when it's somebody who needs to work a pick back, it's been Skims. We saw that big clutch he had on the 2 versus 4 on Oregon, and Rovi, his duo as well, has been known to conjure up a little bit of extra impact. We're under the 30-second mark, and the shield has not been cleared, and there's an Aruni gate that's protecting it as well, but that might not matter. However, Jello still sort of stifling the offense. They really need a soft destructor here to crack open this E-box wall with the diffuser down in Moto. It's a rough play for the smoke as he just runs out of position, and he pretty much gives away his sole advantage there, and just that one set of X-Kairos to open up the church wall. It's not a walkable opening, but the sightline is enough.
And that's the power of gaining access to that opening kill. Look at the time Chess Club had. They were able to roam clear the map practically in 20 seconds. It gives them access to the hashes. They can start to crack them open. And even when stock is left unreinforced, I mean, that just adds more time that Chess Club can end up going for their execute in with Doc Ayana dropping a nade, destroying some of the X-Kairos, it just didn't matter. Because when you're opening up the Moto hatch in the first 2 minutes and 15 seconds left of the round, I mean, it gives Chess Club the opportunity of executing from every single possible push that is available on that basement site. In theory, Chess Club could have gone down through dirt. They could have gone through the north hatch of kitchen, through Moto, through blue, or any combination of those executes. It ended up being a north stair and a secret stair push, but since Chess Club had so much time, they're able to be methodical with their clear, pushing the utility on site, dealing with the Jaeger who was pushing up in through oil. I mean, Chess Club had killers underneath their thumb from the first 5 seconds of that round. That was an incredible push from them. And honestly, Reese, we were very critical of them back on Oregon. Chess Club would get the first opening kills, and then they would play so aggressive they'd lose that advantage. It has been adjusted in round 7. They did not make that mistake, and a great win for them.
So thinking back to the first map, we saw sort of a similar situation come in round number 7, where Chess Club have a bit of an early round struggle. I don't know if that's exactly the comparison that I would use. Either way, they strike out and they get a win there on that site. But then we go to the next one. It's a victory for Killer, but they aren't able to conjure up enough consistency. And then from round 9 forward until the close of the game, Chess Club just win and keep on going. How do you make sure that you can have that consistency here to not just have a single round win and to keep competitive in a clubhouse game that can get off the rails when the offense really has momentum?
You goal set. So if you want to say, hey, I'm going to go for a secret north stairs push, you say, all right, Doc's off the board. We no longer have our nades. We no longer have our clone. How do we be successful with this push? Well, you still open up Moto. You still drone out all of oil, and you just set different people in motion. So if you had Doc be your primary droner, somebody else needs to step up for that. And you just, as the IGL, say, I need different moving components come together. It's like driving a manual transmission. If you want to go faster, you rev match and downshift. It's the exact same thing. If you lose 6th gear, it doesn't matter. You can still run just as fast in 5th gear if you're understanding how the engine dynamics work.
Yeah, well, sadly, I don't drive stick. I only know how to drive an auto, so that analogy doesn't really work for me.
It's me and car metaphors. Like, if I make an explanation for something, at some point, I'm going to go down to a racing metaphor. It's sad that my, like, sports experience are auto racing, water polo, and swim, and none of those analogies help. I guess I just need to, like, study football or something.
Well, ReedSync is still down, and he is getting awfully close, and he'll bleed out. His teammate does not drop down to revive him, but Mr. B, while he doesn't save his teammate, he definitely makes a play that's going to assist the team overall, and I suppose you could call that kind of stepping up, being the leader, and maybe being even the quarterback here, making a play that maybe isolates one player, but is overall better for the later goal, and it's a double nitro play. Doc with well-cooked frags from below, and Bills for the final one there as Chess Club complete the cycle, and they run forward into the site, now stepping onto the offense. No immediate reaction from Killers. That's 2 in a row for Chess Club.
So I want to go back to your question because it's actually further explained here in round 8. The thing was, Chess Club, it doesn't matter if they lose somebody or they still have their 5-man roster. You can see from the start of the round during the prep phase where their drones are set and where they're executing. Who they lose is honestly irrelevant to their push. Sure, if you lose a hard breacher, maybe it changes things up, but in theory, the players who are going to be losing early on is Snake, Bills, and Doc, because they're going to be the ones acting as your entry. When one of them falls, you just have somebody else fill the shoes. It's going to either be Mr. B or ReedSync for that. And that is shown perfectly in round 8, because the strat that Chess Club had, you can see in their mind. They want con, they want to apply pressure. The way they do that is by using nades both linearly on that second floor as well as downstairs through stock. And it just becomes like a World War I artillery barrage. You just send so much nades, so much shrapnel that Killer, they can have some of the best gunners in the world, like Spoit, and he's not going to be able to tank a nade because he has a fleshy body.
Well, one thing you can definitely try to do a little bit better for Killer is try to hold on to that opening pick. This wasn't a problem for them when they were defending earlier on Oregon, but now it is starting to maybe show up as a bit of an issue. Perhaps that is connected in some way. Maybe them losing this opening kill is them trying to find the opposite end of that they want to get the opener, but then they just aren't able to muster enough aim and enough confidence to net the frag. So that gives you a pretty clear question to answer. It's kind of a situation where you have to say, am I good enough? Which is not a game that you want to be asking. A question you want to be asking when your opponent is in a best of 3 up by 1 map. You kind of need to maybe ask that one later upon VOD review when the game is over and done with. But either way, Chess Club are a step away from series points here and potentially walking home with the lion's share of that $1,000 prize pool here in the Kings Cup. Hoping that Killer can start to summon up some of that earlier map energy where they're able to just confidently swing and go on cruise control, but not going to happen there as that'll be twice now. Back-to-back, Doc finds the opener against Skimzy, and could be another kill here for the Iana as she gets into position up on the bar table, but alas, no, her opponent has raced away.
An interesting change. On Oregon, it was Killers running a ton of Cade. But now, Killers aren't running any Cade whatsoever, and we've seen Cade be a staple on the Chess Club defense. And, well, it's really allowing Mr. B to open up patches, and when you couple Mr. B being a support player that can just click heads as easily as he can play support, I mean, you can see what he does. He finds a secondary kill of round number 9, and so much pressure is being applied. Double nades. How are you alive, Jello? You had 2 sharks above shooting you and nading you, and he now rotates over to Secret Stairs. Not quite behind Ginny Box proper, but over towards the oil pit side. He has a great crossfire. He can actually shut down any pressure, but now there's the answer back. Chess Club, they start to fall, but they answer back harder.
Just making sure that counter punch is there and mitigated from the defense. Great play in from Chess Club. They see the ante start to get raised by Killer, and they make sure to match that with their own efforts. Match point here and now. It's series title round if Chess Club can pull this one away. Otherwise, we will be heading on further in regulation, and this game, you gotta hope for their sake that they muster up another round. You'll remember Oregon, that scoreline was 7-4, so if we are going to dual scorelines, Killer are going to need to really strike hard as they will attempt for the very first time their own interpretation of this top floor gym and bedroom defense. The Chess Club are looking pretty good right now, and Killer, a lot of times, maybe they sort of relied on that ability to get aggressive and find the openers. And they had a couple moments where it felt to me, maybe it wasn't expressed in the result of the round, but it definitely was showing in the individual players that they kind of started to get too aggressive and they were being risky, but that risk never turned to reward for the Chess Club side. Well, it's clear we're in a bit of an opposite effect here on the second map of this Kings Cup.
Is that West Spa wall intentionally left open? There are shotgun holes in West Spa, and there are members of Killer just acting like it's all fine and dandy. Okay, there it's finally reinforced. The idea behind the multiple shotgun holes on that West Spa wall is nitrocells don't propagate normally through wooden walls. So when you shotgun open it like this, somehow the shrapnel changes and it propagates more, it sprawls out more. From a physics standpoint, it doesn't make sense, but that's just the way it ends up working. So now if a nitrocell is placed properly and Maverick is going for the trick, Maverick is going to die from that nitrocell instead of tanking it because not all the shrapnel made it on through. So it's nuances. It's small attention to detail that Killer has been so good with, but Chess Club has been just that much better. An expansion out to the west or to the east for our tertiary bomb sign, and that's going to require a lot of hard breach and a lot of utility for the side of Chess Club, but they're already starting to send that utility downrange.
It's definitely a bit of a different look at a composition than what we've had from Killer so far. The Aruni Castle combo has not been found in a lot of their setups, and the nades continue to come close to the mark, but not conclusive enough to earn the frags. Now, another nade will be sent as the offense are starting to run out of that explosive utility. Rovi tries to peek through one of the hard breach holes, completely unsuccessful though. And with the earlier death of the castle, Spoit the playmaker having a bit of a slumbering game so far on his team owns map pick. Now you've lost your smoke as well. Great find from Jello as suddenly The defense, they have a bit of a roam. They're trying to push back, but look at the offense. They're just trying to work past it here. Hawks will earn a nade, but Bill's coming through huge. All of a sudden, Killers hopes to keep fighting in this series rely entirely on a player who's not even close to the bomb site and is going to have to hustle up to try to get past here. He's got his eyes on a player from inside logistics. That's Ash! And Snake will do it for Chess Club. 2 rapid close downs across Oregon and Clubhouse. They'll do it in 2, and $700 will go their way.
A 7-4 and a 7-3 for Chess Club. Boy, did they look good. A great representation of the amateur scene here in North America. But Killers, were they just equally as good? They brought so many cross-region flair, whether or not it was Europe or Latin America. I mean, Killers was a true pleasure to watch. Their aggressive play style kept Chess Club on their toes. But again, when you're going against a roster who's scrimming, practicing every day of the week practically, it's hard to break down that synergy. And that was shown multiple times. When somebody from Chess Club would die, it would be like nothing happened, because Chess Club would be able to react perfectly. And when you're a bunch of really high level ranked players, you do have a certain level of synergy. You have a certain level of ability of rebounding with clicking heads, but you're just not going to have that interpersonal centralization, that interpersonal communication that a team like Chess Club has. And, you know, we've been talking about who are the best teams in amateur North America. I mean, Chess Club is coming in at a hot, 2 or 3.
It's definitely something to keep your eye on their move through the leaderboard so far. And I wanted to talk about what you mentioned as well. It can be really hard not to show the impact of what losing your teammate can be like. And I think that's just got to come down to Chess Club being drilled and being pretty familiar with what goes down here. And especially against a team that is very unpredictable. Sometimes that aggression can kind of get the better of you, and it can be hard to lock down your opponent and to be able to immediately, like a snap, like a flash, be able to earn that trade and really move quite rapidly. You mentioned at the start of the game that Oregon, or rather that Clubhouse, has kind of taken on an offensive tinge lately, and the attackers have gotten a lot better. Well, all it took was getting over towards that second half, and Chess Club swept away the game with 4 uninterrupted attack wins, showing that the target ban onto the Zofia did not even phase them.
Brilliant series. Honestly, I'm so impressed with the talent. I know everyone's talking about Sploit being the next up-and-coming gunner. He proved that today, but again, Chess Club proved their worth in Salt as well. And ladies and gentlemen, if you loved what you saw today, if you think you can beat Sploit, beat Chess Club, fear not, you will have an opportunity to do so. September 18th, we'll be hosting another Kings Cup. It's a free entry, and you'll have access to earn a $1,000 prize. Again, it's free entry. So why not create a team, play against some of the best players in the world, the Sploits, the Chess Clubs, have fun, bring your buddies, and after all, enjoy Rainbow Six Siege.
Yeah, we'd be really glad to have you here. And if you think you can put on as an entertaining of a game as we just got to cast, I'd really be glad to have you down here with us on the server and be able to see what you potentially can bring to the stage of Siege. And that game really, we were hoping for the third map, but I think Chess Club earned it with the way that they played. They were able to shut down that aggression, and it really felt like Oregon was the proving ground. Even though the second map was their opponent's map pick, that didn't matter too terribly much because they had gotten a pretty good read on them by then, and I think maybe the mental started to set in a little bit. But that's all that we've got for us here tonight at the Kings Cup. You'll remember we've got more tournaments, as Chief mentioned. That's every third Saturday of the month, so make sure that you earn your way to potentially be here on the big screen. We'll have tournaments running for the next few months, so make sure that you check out all the various bits of information. We've got commands in chat as well that you can use. I'm sure the mods will be able to help you navigate all of those various links. But until next time, I've been Sticula, my partner in crime here, Chief. We'll look forward to the next broadcast. Until then, farewell.